Now, I know I'm getting older, but am I the only one consistently saying, I'm sorry, how much was that? $9 lattes, $15 just to eat a meal at McDonald's, $200 for a bucket of chlorine tabs, and of course, how much did they just list that home for again? In June of 2020, we had 1,300 homes in Las Vegas priced under $250,000. Today, that number is 26. Even looking at the data you're about to see, fundamentally, it makes very little damn sense. But before we get into that, there's two things that I'd like to share. First is this map. As Americans, we tend to exist in a vacuum. We pick our political color, red or blue. We get our news in the same fashion. And most of us never attempt to consider what's happening outside of our own country. Now, this map was put out by the IMF, International Monetary Fund, which illustrates what worldwide inflation looks like. If you pay close attention, you can see that America is one of the lowest countries in the world for inflation. Now, what we're dealing with isn't unique to Las Vegas or even the United States. Inflation is affecting our entire world. Now, with housing prices continuing to inflate, the easiest clickbait is to claim prices are going to crash. Now, unless the market is crashing, you're always going to have a contingent of people hoping, praying, and believing a crash is inevitable. People love low-bearing fruit, and negative news always sells better than positive news. But this market is much different than we've ever experienced before. Our problems are unique in nature, and even typical economic principles don't adhere anymore. As such, I came across this great article in MarketWatch that addresses some of these issues. Before the crash of 2008, the U.S. built around 2 million homes per year. For the following decade, we only built about 500,000, and for the past 10 years, we've only built 1 million per year. Meanwhile, we've added 30 million people in America and have 71 million millennials that are now entering the stage in life that typically triggers home purchases. Essentially, we as a country have fallen behind on supply, and demand is going to continue to increase. Even Zillow claims the U.S. is currently short 4.5 million homes versus 4.3 million last year. But hey, listen to the crypto kids who believe in getting rich by renting forever. Good luck with that $20,000 rent payment in about 30 years when you try to retire. All jokes aside, let's go ahead and dig into the metrics and see what's actually going on right now here in Las Vegas. Okay, first up, let's check out last month's sales. Last month, we only managed to sell 1,760 homes. This was a 12% decrease from last year, which, by the way, was a terrible year for sales to itself. So to give you an idea, typically we sell between 2,500 and 3,000 homes in the month of June. So there's really just no getting around it. Sales were terrible. In the 12 years I've been tracking monthly sales like this is the worst June ever. Okay, so with plummeting sales, clearly this means the median price had to go down finally as well, right? Well, welcome to Crazy Town, folks. Nope. In a direct slap in the face to economists, sales plummeted, but the median price went up. You heard me correct, prices went up. We ended last month at $475,000. This now puts us up 7% year over year. We're only halfway into the year, and we're up 7%, with rates hovering around 7% as well. Okay, so sales are terrible, yet prices went up. The only way this makes sense is if supply is constricted and falling. So let's check that out. We ended June with just under 4,000 homes on the market. Now, technically, this was an 8% increase over May. Realistically, however, this translates into only 288 homes added to the market. So on one hand, this marks 9 straight weeks of increasing inventory, but on the other hand, those 9 weeks only amounted to a total of 700 more homes. This gives us only a 9-week supply of inventory. 9 weeks. In real estate, a balanced market should have 6 months supply of inventory. While it's certainly not the seller's market it was, there's no arguing the fact that it's still very much a seller's market. It's simply a complicated seller's market. Another way to view the market analytically is to check out my housing market by absorption. I created this metric to illustrate how various price ranges are performing. The entry home buyer may have a vastly different home buying experience versus a luxury home buyer. So let's go price range by price range and see how they're performing. First up is the bulk of our market, homes priced between $250,000 to $500,000. This dropped from 49% down to 47%, meaning almost half the homes you see online in this price range already have an accepted offer. While this is still very strong, we've come down 7% just since April. Next, let's look at homes priced between $500,000 to $750,000. This was our largest drop for the month. We dropped 4% from 39% down to only 35%. Next, we have $750,000 to $1 million. This went from 31% down to only 30%. Now let's talk luxury. Homes priced between $1 million to $1.5 million. This decreased from 26% down to 23%. And finally, we have the ultra luxury market of homes priced over $1.5 million. Surprisingly, this actually increased from 15% to 16%. Now, overall, the market is now at 38%. So only about 1/3 of the homes on the market are currently under contract. Now, just 2 years ago, before these rate increases, we were around 70%. Now let's try and make some sense out of all this madness. Sales are historically poor, yet prices are up due to lack of overall supply. You've got rates refusing to stay below 7%, and everyone is looking at this horrific election wondering, what are we going to be navigating next year after all this? On the high end of the market, many buyers are reticent to purchase until this election is over. We've got major expiring tax cuts for the wealthy and a host of additional concerns at that level. Now, for most buyers, it's simply an issue of these eye-watering mortgage payments. The truth is that most buyers genuinely don't care about the price of the home. What they really care about is how much that home will cost them monthly. Now, considering an ugly home in a nice neighborhood will cost you upwards of $3,000 a month, a lot of these typical buyers have simply chosen to continue to rent and just live in luxury apartments versus owning a fixer-upper with no money left over to fix it up. Family-sized homes owned by older people aren't being sold since those people don't want to downsize and wind up paying the same amount for a lesser home and or pay capital gains, which hasn't been updated in 35 years. With the potential change to how we purchase homes set to start next month, this also creates additional obstacles for all home buyers. So until November ends in 5 months, this market is going to be exceptionally nuanced and challenging. Sales are likely to continue to be a bit sluggish, and inventory is likely to continue to increase at a snail's pace. Ultimately, if you're a buyer out there, I still maintain it's much better to purchase now while you have no financial obligation to pay for representation. This is a really strong recommendation if you're in a price range with heightened competition. Now, for many buyers on the low end, you simply may not be able to afford to purchase a home once this goes into effect. Now, if you're looking to sell, it's a roll of the dice. On the low end, there's little to no risk on waiting to sell. There's no supply and high demand. Once the commission change goes into effect, that essentially puts another 2 to 3% net profit in your pocket, since you can simply just sell to a hedge fund or large institutional investor that doesn't need to pay for their representation like a typical consumer would. But on the higher end, you're less likely to sell without having to pay out a commission, since you have much less demand and little to no investors and hedge funds that are out there purchasing in this price point. Additionally, you're betting on this election. Don't underestimate the effect those expiring tax cuts and overall consumer confidence will have initially on these wealthier wallets. Additionally, politics and taxes are the two largest reasons wealthier Californians are looking to move to Las Vegas. Either way, it's a much larger gamble for higher end sellers out there. But isn't that the Vegas way? Well, that's it for this month's video, everyone. Please like the video and be sure to subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one. Deuces.